following from what began over the weekend, the strikes of the Kenya Airways pilots, which has detrimentally affected the flight routes of Kenya Airways, together with, of course, tourists and other travelers who are being stranded. Some of them, of course, are close friends who are traveling to other parts of the country and the rest of the world. It's also other news. We're also seeing the COP27 officially beginning with our President William Ruto traveling to Egypt, where he met the newly reinstated British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and they discuss a lot of issues which will probably mean good things for the country moving forward. Just a lot for you to know, but first let's take a look at the stories making headlines tonight. Details of the SGR contract revealed by the Transport CS Murkomen, raising more questions on the deal. President Ruto in Egypt for the COP20.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Welcome to the broadcast of Otieno, with the company working a chain with our sign language interpreter tonight. We'll sing with us throughout the 1 hour as we inform you on the news that have been hitting headlines and, of course, things happening across the world as well. Now, just a week after being sworn in as the Roads, Transport and Public Works Cabinet Secretary, Kipchumba Murkomen fulfilled his promise to make the standard gauge railway SGR contract public on Sunday evening. November 6th, the CS made public a elusive document for the terms of the contract between the Kenyan government and the Chinese lender Export-Import Bank of China, as well as the details of the SGR that cost Kenyans 670 billion shillings.
The contract between Kenya and China for SGR lane, first signed in December 2014, helped retired President Uhuru Kenyatta build what was Kenya's most expensive infrastructure project. Kenya was bound to keep the details of the deal under lock and key. The authorities, including the former head of state, refused to make the contract public even after a court order. The contract was Sunday made public by Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, ending years of speculation on what the country signed. In the document shared by CS Murkomen, China lent Kenya $1.6 billion at 2% interest per annum with a 0.25% commitment fee. Taxpayers paid a management fee of $4 million 30 days after the signing of the contract. The SGR deal, the contract shows, is a 20-year loan with a 7-year grace period. Kenya was to repay the amount in 156 months and was to dedicate 42.06% of the proceeds from the railway to repay the loan. For the Nairobi-Naivasha route, Kenya signed a $1.2 billion contract in a 20-year loan facility. Kenya was required to pay $137.59 million as insurance fees. But while Mr. Murkomen shared the contract, which is said will be tabled in Parliament, details of the collateral Kenya put as being the port of Mombasa and other assets of the Kenya Port Authority were missing. Jeff Mwangi, KUTV.
Now, various leaders have convened in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, for the conference of the parties in COP27 climate change meeting. Now, President William Ruto is among the leaders in attendance. President Ruto, as the chair of the Committee of African Heads of States and Government on Climate Change on behalf of the African states, has made his address on climate change.
President William Ruto is among the world leaders in attendance for the conference of the parties on climate change, aiming to come up with appropriate plans to tackle the global challenge of climate change. President Ruto is the chair of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change on behalf of African states, has made an address on issues of climate change. Among the issues discussed by President Ruto include running the globe towards more ambitious action, seeking implementation and honoring of commitments made over the past 30 years by countries with greatest responsibilities for accumulating greenhouse gases causing global warming. He has also outlined Kenya's policies and strategies to tap into the global carbon market. The conference comes at a time when Kenya and the Horn of East Africa is facing the ever worst drought for a period of 40 years. According to a report by UNICEF, more than 20 million people, among them 10 million children from Djibouti, Kenya and Somalia, are in dire need of food and water following the adverse effects of drought in the region. The conference was officially opened on 6th November and expected to end on 18th of November. Jeff Mwangi, KUTV.
Well, the ruling party leader Raila Odinga left the country today morning to attend the United Nations 27th Conference of Parties on Climate Change in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. The conference has brought together more than 130 global leaders to tackle the challenge of global climate change, and according to a report from his party, Odinga will address the summit as the African Union High Representative. The conference was officially opened on the 6th of November and expected to end on the 18th of November. And former President and Kenya's peace envoy to Ethiopia, Uhuru Kenyatta, has expressed confidence that the ongoing peace talks to end the civil wars next door will bear a permanent solution. Issues expected to be discussed in the talks that began today include how to monitor the deal and the resumption of humanitarian and access and basic service to Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. Those facilitating and attending the talks include the African Union envoy and former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and the Nigerian, South African and the Kenyan military officers, the United States and the Regional Intergovernmental Authority on Development are just observers. The Kenya Airways CEO Alan Kiavuka has asked the striking pilots to return to work or risk of being replaced. The airline has further withdrawn from existing collective bargaining agreement and the recognition agreement with the Kenya Airline Pilots Association's CALPA, citing malice by the pilots on strike.
The stalemate at the Pride of Africa, Kenya Airways, is yet to fall after the airline's pilots declined to take to the skies, grounding operations for a third day, with the only thing taking off being losses as the KQ planes remain afar from the skies.
They have made it clear that they will not meet until our members resume their duties, yet this is contrary to the spirit of negotiation or a return to work formula that is founded on dialogue.
Addressing the media, Kenya Airways CEO Alan Kilavuka stated that the window for talks is closed and that the airline expects the pilots to return to work before any discussions are held.
I want them to go back to work because they are costing us a lot of money. They are sabotaging this country. They have been belligerent. They were trying to hold us hostage. And now I'm saying, let them go back to work before we have any other discussion, because the longer they stay out there, the more we don't have money to pay even their salary.
Kilavuka further revealed the flag carrier's intent to seek replacements for the 400 Kenya Airline Pilots Association CALPA members who have since the 31st of October 2022 downed their tools to protest, among other issues, the withdrawal of staff retirement fund by the management.
It will take a long time. It's going to be a painful process. But listen, sometimes you have got to take a pain to make a step forward. You cannot be held hostage. Actually, this is a very dangerous trend.
The Kenya Airline Pilots Association officials have been summoned to appear before the court on the 8th of November 2022 and explain why they should not be punished for disobeying the court order asking them not to go on strike.
This adversarial approach will not achieve our common goal of getting Kenya Airways back to full operation.
Kenya Airways pilots were issued with a court injunction on the October 31st, but still went ahead to call for an industrial action, a move that has in turn affected thousands of passengers. Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
Well, funding crisis in public universities has of late caused an alarm to the university's academic staff union WASU. The union have strongly opposed the statement from the CS of Education, Ezekiel Machogu, on public universities not receiving funds from the government, terming this move as unilateral and unconstitutional.
The university's academic union has today given a press briefing addressing the funding crisis in public universities. According to Dr. Wasonge Opiyo, the increase in students' population has increased demands. Thus, the move to cease funding institutions will result in a fee increase.
That the government is not going to fund universities has this implication. It means now he has given universities free will to charge fees at market rate. That is the implication.
Wasonge has hence reiterated that the inability of public universities to meet their financial statutory obligation is due to government capitation, which is not fully supporting universities' payroll expenditure for maintenance.
More disturbing is the inability of public universities to meet their financial statutory obligations to Kenya Revenue Authority, National Social Security Fund, National Hospital Insurance Fund on a regular basis. This is because the government capitation cannot fully support the respective universities' payroll expenditure as well as other recurrent expenditures in terms of operation and maintenance.
The members of the staff have also asked the CS Education Ezekiel Machogu to adhere to the promises that the president had given to them concerning the Ministry of Education.
We want him to come in the open and tell us what he meant. Because as a union, we can petition the president so that he's being removed there forthwith. Does he understand that the president signed a charter with members of the university community?
The statement from the union has come days after a similar case on the removal of help loans from students was raised, drawing varied views from the public.
Je, nauliza swali moja. Kutoa help ndio bottom up?
Government is investing in around 100,000 students every year wanatumia help, but the government is not getting back that money because we don't have that field where it will accommodate all the graduates.
Hii maneno ya kutoa help, maneno ya kushangaza sana. Juu inaonesha ule mtu alitoa hiyo kitu ajali mwanafunzi wa Kenya.
With the cutting of funds from public universities, mostly affected will be students from poor backgrounds. Hence, university education will be only for the rich in our society. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
Kenya is among the 8 beneficiary countries selected for the UNESCO COVID-19 Crisis Response Program aimed at supporting tourism recovery around the world. The heritage sites with sensitization of the project in both Lamu and Mombasa kicked off today, targeting those earning a living through tourism, economic activities such as artisanship and tour guiding, among others.
Kenya has been designated as a beneficiary of the UNESCO Resilience Support Project, with its sensitization commencing in Lamu and Mombasa counties to suit the needs of tourism sector employees. According to UNESCO National Program Officer East Africa Judith Ogana, the project is aimed at building resilience in places of tourism interest that was negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Lamu County Governor Issa Timami lauded UNESCO for initiating the project, which he said was key in supporting tourism recovery around Lamu.
Lamu town in particular, we are very proud that it is listed on UNESCO's World Heritage List due to its outstanding culture.
The idea was really to see how we can build resilience in spaces and in places of tourism interest. So the work that has been discussed and proposed has really come from the communities. What has happened is that the site managers have engaged the community, and that is from the wazes to the young people, to see what it is that they want to change.
The UNESCO program, which is also supported by the Kenya Tourism Board and the National Museums of Kenya, is part of a wider campaign aimed at catalyzing new measures and approaches for sustainable tourism at the World Heritage destinations. John Wahome, KUTV.
16 minutes on the chronometer past 9 p.m. It's time to take our first break here on KUTV Prime Time in the moment. We shall be coming back with the discussion of the night. Fiesta. Very interesting discussion which you don't want to miss. So stay with us. See you on the other side.
Repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more, only on Law Matters.
Why are you taking medicine? Are you okay?
Yes, I am. The tablet is for HIV prevention.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP, refers to antiretroviral drugs taken daily by HIV-negative people who are at ongoing risk of HIV infection to reduce their chances of becoming infected. If used consistently, PrEP can reduce the risk of HIV infection by over 90%. However, because it does not protect against unplanned pregnancy, it should always be used with a family planning method. To get PrEP and any other HIV prevention method, visit a healthcare provider. To talk to someone on PrEP, uliza NASCOP at 0800 724 848 or use direct line 0726 460 000 or 1190. This message is brought to you by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council.
I am an open-minded person. I like learning new skills, new ideas. I plan to work harder and push myself to become better and better every day.
The KICD, which stands for Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, have developed a coding syllabus that will be enshrined in the CBC curriculum. And with equipment such as this, the electronic kit, this will help the country achieve this particular agenda.
So you'll find that the kit doesn't tell you start from when it comes to the motherboard, start at button 8 or start at button 4. It's just a plain motherboard. Every kit comes with a manual. It's something that the kid is able to use at home in case the parent buys and goes with it at home, and the kid is also able to use it at school.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design, with branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa. Our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People power si vuguvugu. People power ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on KTV Prime News. If you're just joining us, you're streaming live our broadcast on our social media platforms on Facebook, KTV Kenya, Twitter, KTV_Kenya, on YouTube at KTV Kenya Live. Time for our discussion now, the Siasa Fiesta. So the Kenyan political landscape is streamlining with the sworn-in cabinet secretaries fully fledged to deliver all the mandates of their dockets. A sharp debate has, however, been sparked with the pronouncement by the Education CS Ezekiel Meshugu on the university's funding. Is this a move of development or of posterity or retardation? Now, we can also witness, along with the second in command, Brigadier Gachagua, calling out Raila Odinga to take up his rightful place in the opposition. And it's just a lot for the discourse. On the Siasa Fiesta, and joining me is Hemston Ondelo, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much, Hemston, for dedicating your time for this discussion.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Kenneth, and I'm very grateful for having me for tonight's discussion.
All right. So, we're looking at the Kenyan political landscape. A lot has really happened in the recent past. Just a week, of course, we have seen the CSS being sworn in, and of course, handing over has been happening across the week. But some of the CSS, of course, have now gone fully-fledged in them delivering the mandates of the dockets, like what we saw in the transport docket, the CS Murkomen delivering, of course, now making it to public, the contract on SGR. We saw what Machogu, the CS for Education, saying that the government will now stop funding public universities. So it's just a lot happening in the political landscape. So how would you describe the Kenyan political landscape at the moment with all that we've seen across the week?
Well, first of all, when I touch on the CS Machogu's thoughts and directives about the fundings of the Kenya public universities, I think this is something that is very serious, and looking at the state of Kenyan universities, I mean, they are at the verge of collapsing. And the conversation that we should be having right now is how to increase the funding that goes to the public universities. Currently, when you tell the universities to look for alternative ways of getting funds, I mean, the only immediate clients that the universities have are the students, are the comrades.
Right.
And for your information, the current state of the economy, of the parents and of the comrades, and if you've been active, you will realize that a lot of comrades are going hungry without food. They usually call it kuinama.
Right.
They usually bend a lot. Let me just use that. So when you want to deny the public universities their fundings, you are directing that hit to the common student who was by luck or by hard work attained to go to the university.
Right.
And immediately or by that, the universities, for them to get funds, they'll have to increase the school fee. So I want to urge the CS that currently with the economic state, we've been really hit hard, and the only conversation that the comrades and the parents and the citizens of this country are willing to have is how we are going to increase the allocation to the public university, how we are going to increase the help to the public university. And to the docket of transport.
Maybe before we get away from that, because this is really something that has raised a lot of questions. Today we saw the also meeting today with Constantine Wasonga really condemning the move by the Education CS Machogu. So this probably could raise questions on what is the stand of the current government on higher education? Is it that probably we're seeing the direct manifestation? Because it could not be a move that was just, the education CS waking up and saying, now this is what we want to be done. Maybe it's something that was, it was a discussion in the corridors of power, and then they deliberate on it and say, now this is what we want to do in the Kenyan public university. So this one raises the question, what is really the stand on the Kenya Kwanza government on the issue of higher education learning? Could it be now they're implementing the Hustle Manifesto probably that they want to help the life of the common wananchi, the people who are supposed to the labor, the wheelbarrows probably supposed to come into play or something. So what is your stay? What's your opinion generally on the stand of the Kenya Kwanza government on higher education?
My opinion, actually, talking about that, this is not something that I just think the CS just woke up the other day and said, well, I want this up. His Excellency, the former CS, Magoha, if I can remember, he suggested that the university fee should be increased to 100,000. And his argument was this 16,000 was, it's dated back to the 2000s, and the value of the Kenyan shilling has been on the rise.
Yes, so high inflations and everything, many factors of course considering this.
Exactly. So his argument, yes, it's real and it's understandable, but our argument as the hustlers and the comrades of this nation is that whereas the value of the Kenyan shillings has improved or has risen, that has not been reflected in the pocket of the common mwananchi. Yes, the value has risen, but then when you look at the pockets of the common mwananchi, it's down. So you can't tell us that that is what you want to use. So back to the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. I'm wondering actually that this is not the manifesto that the Kenya Kwanza government read to us during the launch at Nyayo Stadium. And I want to argue that whoever has the manifesto that was launched kindly give it to the president to implement it fully, because what we are seeing right now is not bottom up, it is up bottom.
Right, interesting. So that was a tip of the mountain in the CSS. So last week we saw the president himself, of course, nominated 51 candidates for the permanent secretary position. And of course, this when this list was made public, it raised a lot of questions. People saying that a lot of factors have not been considered. The issue of regionalism, people coming from the same tribe, the minorities have not been considered, the youth have not been considered when we thought this government is for the youthful generations and stuff. So I don't know what you make of this list that was given. Of course, the vetting is also supposed to start, I think, on 14th. So what's your opinion on the list that was given by the president on the nominees?
On this list, personally, I think this wasn't the right thing that the president did in terms of matters national unity. We have 44 communities in this country, and these 44 communities within our borders, they do pay taxes, for the government of Kenya to run, which means they have a right, for one, representation. Number two, they have a right for development, and they should not beg for it, they should not ask for it, because they pay taxes, and this is their right as the citizens of this country. So the nominations done by the president, and if we had a strong legislator, I think the committee that is going to undertake the vetting process should put these nominees under serious scrutiny, such that we can have the president get back to correct his mistakes. We should have, as his manifesto suggests, and that we, the youths of this country, must have full representation in the government. The women of this country, whom he really worked with, must be represented. And actually is one of his manifestos were to actualize the 2/3 gender roles. We've not seen it. So I want to ask the committee, because the president has already done the nominations, to scrutinize these nominees. If possible, give the president a second chance to correct the mistakes, because we all live this country, we all pay taxes, and we must be represented.
But talking on the same note, probably you're saying that giving the president another chance, of course, to rewrite the wrongs probably that he made in probably selecting some of these permanent secretaries. We saw this, of course, emanating during the vetting of the cabinet secretaries. But it just slipped through the hands. All of them were vetted and appointed, sworn in the various dockets. So how possible is this going to happen in the permanent secretary's position, considering that in the houses, both the lower and upper house, the Kenya Kwanza government has the say, because they are the majority in both the upper and the lower houses?
Okay, now this is why I said, when the legislative part of the government, the arm of the government, that is the parliament, is strong enough, unfortunately I think not, and this is also another discussion that we need to have, the opposition role of the government has the parliament has the role of oversight.
Right.
It doesn't say that we are in government, this opposition. The MP's role is to oversight, and that is why I'm giving this task to the MPs, including the speaker.
Right.
But when it comes to voting, let's ask those hard questions. Let's give these nominees hard time to ensure that we have the right people in these offices. Let's put politics aside. I know that is very hard, because it's time for paying favors.
Absolutely.
But let's, for once, scrutinize, and let's make sure we have the right people in the right offices.
Right, so we just talked about oversight, and of course this was the main topic of discussion over the weekend when the second in command, Rigathi Gachagua, was up with hammers and tongs, of course, calling out on the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga that he has no business in the government. He should maintain on his lane of the opposition, keeping checks keeping checks, of course, and balances into the government as the leader of opposition. But of course, this thing was not just coming out lightly. He mentioned on a number of things, saying that when he got himself into the government, that is the previous government, the Jubilee government, a lot of bad than good happened to the government. So, I mean, what the sentiments that were raised by the second in command, what message are they relaying to Kenyans? Are they still holding back tightly to the rules and the goals probably of the previous government instead of forging ahead, giving Kenya's direction moving forward?
Well, in my opinion, as I look at things, the Kenya Kwanza government came into power mainly because they were hanging on someone's coat, blaming some particular individuals. And unfortunately, the people they were blaming are outside government. But still, instead of working for the people of Kenya, they still want to find someone to blame. And unfortunately, it is His Excellency, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And the former Prime Minister has come out clearly and said, we are going to give you our first 100 days to watch you and give you time, because we don't want blame games. We want to give you 100 days work for Kenyans. But then politicians are politicians, and I might think it is a game plan of 2027. It never stops. They want someone to blame, as long as His Excellency, the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, is in the political game. The Deputy President will still try and hang on his court, will still try and blame him for whatever reason. And that is clearly what is happening. And my humble plea to the Deputy President, you had your campaign period officially gazetted by IEBC, and I think we Kenyans went to an election, and they gave you the mandate. And right now, you had the time to talk the walk. I think it's time to walk the talk. Yeah.
Right, and still on that, of course, remember, just some few days ago, when questions were being asked to the secondary commander, Rigathi Gachagua, because, they said during the campaign period that if we claim this state, you're going to do this, this, and this. In 100 days, you're going to deliver this to Kenyans. And when this question, of course, was being raised, he said that he also actually blamed the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, saying that if it were not because of Mzee Kitendawili, we would not have gone to the Supreme Court. We would not have wasted the time we wasted during the petition of the presidential election, and we would have delivered to Kenyans. And of course now, this would raise another question, because we saw what happened. The running of Raila Amolo Odinga, that is Martha Karua, filed a petition at the East African Court of Justice challenging the decision that was made by the Supreme Court of Kenya on the presidential election petition. So maybe just to touch on this, do you think we are going to see something different from what the highest court in the land ruled on the presidential election petition?
Well, my opinion is I see another hot air loading from the East African Court, because we had the highest court of the land, that is Supreme Court. The 7 judges had a ruling, I mean a unanimous ruling. The other times we had few judges are split, but this time we had 7 judges. The Azimio team had enough time. They had that time. They were listened to, and we respect the court verdict, and they did. But when we have the Azimio running mate going to the East African Court, this is a court, I don't understand really how it works, but I think it has no mandate to overturn a verdict of the Supreme Court of the land. And sadly, this is a court that even if it makes a ruling, I'm not sure if it has ways to make the ruling, to effect the ruling. I mean, they don't have the police, they don't have the military. It's just a court. I don't know how it works, but all and all, whether it rules in the favor of Her Excellency Martha Karua, they don't have the powers. The power and the constitution of the land stands still, and it cannot be overturned by some court somewhere in the East African community. So whether it rules for or against, I think it's hot air.
All right, you're saying that's hot air loading. Anyway, I don't know What can you take, but from your interactions with individuals across the country, and of course people that you interact with probably from where you come from, the people you represent, of course, in your capacity, are Kenyans really ready to hear of another petition, probably does things changing in the already political setup that we already have, where we know that for the next 5 years is the Kenya Kwanza government? Will Kenyans really, if anything is to go by, will Kenyans really be ready to embrace another form of government where we'll have another appointment of CSS, appointment of PSS, and people that work closely in running the government? Are Kenyans ready for such a conversations, really?
Well, I think when you go by the happenings, the deeds that happened after 9th August elections, and even the statistics of the votes that we were given by the IEBC, I think it's clearly that Kenyans lost hope, and they were tired, and they are still tired of politicians, and I think they are focusing on working on their own. You saw the statistics, it was a bad turnout, and again, after the ruling, for the first time, we are a peaceful nation. What does this drives home? I think the Kenyan people are on their own, and they have realized they are on their own, and for that reason, they're not ready for any other thing that detracts them, and they're ready to work peacefully and coexist, do their business, feed their children, and move on with their life.
All right. Interesting. For the interest of time, of course, probably as we wind this up, what message would you want to pass to Kenyans out there concerning the politics of this country moving forward? How should they position themselves to ensure that they help the government in running the government so that we achieve together the mandates and probably the promises the government had for the citizens at large?
I want to tell my fellow Kenyans, comrades and citizens that next time when we are given a constitutional mandate to enjoy our right to vote our leaders, and even during campaigns, we should not, or Kenyans should never accept clothes from a naked person. I think I just want to say, next time, during the campaigns, Kenyans, when you are offered a cloth by a naked person, I think you should ask yourself several questions. Why? Because we are in a situation whereby we had a government formed in a basis, the relationship between the Kenya Kwanza government and the hustlers was formed, and the foundation is totally lies, and the truths will definitely separate it. So next time, this is a government that came in with hefty promises that it will deliver to its people. Unfortunately, I think with the goings by these 40 days that it has been in power, we are not experiencing such leadership that we thought we could be given. We fell in a trap, and we have to eat our humble pie for the next 5 years unless they change, and I'm optimistic Mr. President is going to change. So next time, let us be more careful on the personality and the people who we are going to vote for, such that we don't make another mistake of getting really the right people into the right offices. Thank you very much.
All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Hemston, for your input on this. Of course, we hope to have more and more such a discourse, of course, telling Kenyans, helping them analyze what's happening in the country. I would like to take a very short break. We shall be coming back with more. Stay with us.
Sasa ni bora zaidi, mwanzo mpya, mambo mapya. Msimu mwingine wa Boresha Kilimo unakuletea teknolojia ibuka, kilimo mseto, uongezaji thamani. Teknolojia dijitali ya mauzo inawezesha ufikiaji wa masoko. Soko moko yako, mahangaiko yako ya kufikia masoko yamefika kikomo, manake tunao Mkulima Yangu.
What Mkulima Yangu does is it connects farmers with the market.
Hii ni Boresha Kilimo kwa ushirikiano na Mkulima Yangu. Atafutaye hachoki na kichoka kesha pata. Kwa makala maalum ya kilimo, ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 6:30 kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Boresha Kilimo.
I'm a freshman in Kenyatta University. This is all what I've heard about campus. Campus is full of freedom.
Ni cumulative. Mchezo hiyo ilipoka gani kwani?
I'm a fourth year student and I mostly hang out at shopping center. I'm an arboretum, and what I'd tell first years is it's never too late to start being serious.
I am an open-minded person. I like learning new skills, new ideas. I plan to work harder and push myself to become better and better every day.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Omondi Otieno.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's carry on with the bulletin. Now, the newly nominated Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, will be vetted on Tuesday. He is expected to appear at the National Assembly, where he will be vetted by the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Affairs and the Senate Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. The Inspector General was appointed by President William Ruto with approval of Parliament before the vetting exercise, and Kenyans have been granted a 10-day window to share their views on the new IG of the National Assembly. Mugabo is the acting IG after Hilary Mutyambai resigned on the 27th of September. Now, a task force which was entrusted to audit and scrutinize pending bills by Murang'a County government has recommended a payment of part of the bills amounting to 646.9 million Kenyan shillings. Speaking when handing over the report to Murang'a Deputy County Governor, the Vice Chair of the committee, Caroline Njoroge, said that the task force considered payment to be done through a full-year plan starting by December this year.
Received a total of 516 claims at Mothers Union, and these claims amounted to 2.4 billion. And out of these, the committee recommends payment of 174 claims, and that amounts to 646 million.
5,366 employees were head counted, but there were 222 employees currently drawing salaries to the tune of 195,574,296 shillings from the county who are not head counted to date.
Thank you very much. On the part of the government, His Excellency the Governor has indicated that as we have received these recommendations from these two task force, we are going to ensure that we see what we can be able to do to improve our services for the Murang'a residents.
The veteran journalist and the first female news anchor in the country, Catherine Kasavuli, is appealing for blood donation. She was admitted to the Kenyatta National Hospital after being diagnosed with cervical cancer. KBC Managing Director Samuel Maina announced the news and urged well wishes to donate blood. Friends and colleagues within the media fraternity are also appealing for prayers and moral support. Let's take a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Now, Thika Sports Club David Karuma carried around 41 points during the weekend to claim the Division 1 win of the home club's leg of the 2022 edition of the NCBA Golf Series. The handicap 10 player garnered victory in the spirited competition, battling his namesake David Mwangi, who carried 39 points to claim the runners-up position in the category. Meanwhile, Linda Kinywa carried 38 points to emerge the winner among the ladies. In other results, Anthony Moura and Anne Kenyuri won the longest drive challenge in the men and women categories respectively. And the English Premier League side Southampton have sacked their manager Ralph Hasenthal following yesterday's 4-1 home defeat match against Newcastle that retained them in the third last on the league's table. Southampton last won at Bournemouth on the 19th of October. It remains at their only win from the past 9 matches. Hasenthal becomes the third Premier League coach to become sacked after Scott Parker and Thomas Tuchel and departs with the club in the league's relegation zone after gathering 12 points after 14 games. The UEFA Champions League draw for the round of 16 phase of the elite football tournament has been completed today at the House of the European Football in Lyon and is scheduled to take place from the 14th February to 15th March next year in a repeat of the last season's final. Defending champions Real Madrid will meet runners-up Liverpool in the round of 16 phase of the Champions League as PSG will take on Bayern Munich. Winner Chelsea will battle Borussia Dortmund as the Serie A giants Inter Milan lock horns with FC Porto for a place in the quarterfinals. In other fixtures, Man City will take on Bundesliga's RB Leipzig as Tottenham Spurs face AC Milan. And with that, we're going to wrap here on KTV Primetime News. Many thanks indeed for valued company throughout the bulletin on sign language interpreter tonight has been Martin Echin. My name is Omondi Otieno. Tomorrow we shall be meeting the same place, same time for the Primetime Bulletin. Have a great night.